Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Dubs. I'm your host, Bill T. Well, this morning, I'm in Buffalo, New York, and this podcast is coming out, chopping up the intro here at the hotel for you guys to make sure you don't miss a podcast. And I'm going to be headed to the Niagara car show at Fireman's Park, put on by German Air. The one that we've been talking about for the past couple weeks, it's here. I'm on the East Coast. Hopefully I see a lot of you guys out there. The weather's looking a little... who knows? But also, if you're here in town, Friday night from 7 to 10, there's going to be drinks and snacks for everybody. That's going to be taking place over at the German Air Kickoff Social, hosted by the Four Stack Mafia. So the Four Stack Mafia is putting that on, and that's going to be taking place at 938 Lundy's Lane at the Cam Park Resort. So if you guys are in town, man, make sure you guys go check that out tonight. That's kicking off at about 7 o'clock. Tomorrow's going to be the cruise around Niagara Park, and then the car show is going to be on Sunday. So if you guys are in town for this, make sure, and you're not too far, man, you might as well get up here because I drove all the way. That's the least you can do is come out to this car show because I flew all the way across the country for this thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the East Coast peeps out here and meeting some of you guys that are into the hobby. So excited about that. Looking forward to checking out how the East Coast does it. So, but this week, I had a crazy week. Last week was out there at the DKP 60th reunion and picked up Rag Chop from Scott Gildner. Decklid was finished. Bunch of stuff with all that. So we'll probably do a roundtable with George coming up the next couple of weeks, but was able to sit down at the reunion with Eric Justus. Now, some of you may or may not know who Eric Justus is. Eric Justus is, if you ever saw back in the early 2000s, there was a Type 34 ghia used to go drag racing all the time down at Carlsbad. And he's also the youngest member of DKP, coming in at about 38 years old. And he's got a super sick 55 oval that's just built. It was built originally just for being a wild drag car, and he's tamed it down a little bit, and now it's a pretty dope street car. So good dude. He's been in the scene for a long time. Comes from a VW family. Great story. I know you guys will dig it. So enjoy this. This is going to be a great podcast. So I'm looking forward, like I said, out here on the East Coast, going to check some stuff out. Excited to see what you guys got to offer out here. And we got tons and tons of stuff coming up. But I'm going to keep this intro short. Make sure you guys support the sponsors that support Let's Talk Dubs, namely VW Trends Magazine, which, by the way, Dan with VW Trends Magazine is going to be here at the show. So make sure you guys stop by and say hey to him. I'm sure where you see him, I may not be far away. And we'll be looking forward to meeting a bunch of you guys. So VW Trends Magazine, for the people, by the people, go subscribe today at VWTrendsMagazine.com. Also, go get you some Viton push rod tube seals. The new ones are out. Go to Ross Wolf now today and pick you up some Viton push rod seals. Never leak again, man. Get rid of them pesky leaks on your Volkswagen. Go check it out today. Ross Wolf, pushing the modern edge technology and cool custom parts. So go check that out. Also, Icon Pistons, some of the highest quality aftermarket pistons that you can buy. If you're into performance, you're into quality, go check out Icon Pistons. Click the link below to go to. I currently have a link to Type E Motorsports to send you there to pick up your Type E pistons and make them in A, B, and C offsets in the 94 millimeter wristband height. They also carry them in 85.5 and 92. So go check them out today. Icon Pistons, if only the best pistons will work for you. Well, guys, we're getting ready to get into it, man. I'm keeping a short intro, get a rock and roll, get this podcast happening. Looking forward, again, to meeting a bunch of you guys on the East Coast at the German Air Car Show and Social. That is brought to you by Vintage VWs, Inc. That's going to be taking place at Fireman's Park, Niagara Falls. Make sure you guys come check it out. For more information, go to www.germanaire.ca. So without any further ado, guys, let's get into it. The rest of you guys, I'll see you with the show. Type 34 drag racer, Hot Rod Magazine contributor, and also youngest member of DKP, Eric Justus, on this week's Let's Talk Dubs.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen. It's got everything that people who like the bug like.
Okay, everybody. So on today's podcast, we're coming at you from your Belinda Regional Park. If you hear the birds tweeting in the background, that's what you're getting. We're firing off live out here at the DKP 60th anniversary and the Calic 50th anniversary celebration here. And I'm here with the youngest DKP member, a person you may know for several different things. If you're in a hot rod, you might know who he is. If you're a Type 34 purist, you might have a picture on your dartboard with him. But if you're into this cow look and all that stuff, you'll definitely know our next guest, Eric Justus, with the 55. He's got the 55 oval window that won the award. Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Good for having me. Thank you.
So we've been trying to get together for a while because one of the things is you got a super nice oval. It's a DKP car, and we're going to kind of talk about some of the DKP stuff. We're going to talk about a lot of things. But one of the things I found out after checking on you and talking to you for a little bit was, I think it was an Instagram post where I posted something. There was a picture or a Facebook post, something about that black ghia somehow, the black Type 34 that was drag racing at Barona, right? That's where it races, or Carlsbad.
Carlsbad, yeah.
And I said something about, that car was cool. Yeah, that was my car. And I'm like, wait a second. I thought it belonged to Pip Hancock, who's the guy that I knew that had it. And so come to find out, you were the original owner. So we welcome to the show.
Yeah,
and the way that we always do the podcast, the way we always start this is, what's your VW story and how did you get into Volkswagens?
Oh, that's a simple one. My dad was always into Volkswagens.
Yeah.
So
and your dad is
Gary Justus.
Gary Justus. A lot of people know him. He's been in the scene for quite a while, right?
Yeah, he had the VW Panic car show years ago. He put that on. He had his car since '82. So I remember back in '87 going to Showdown. Met Dino Don in '87, put me on stage and was throwing candy back out at people in a small car. And
you're a young pup because you're 43.
43.
So you're 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So you had to be real young because in '87 I was, what would I have been? I'd have been 15 years old in '87. Yeah.
So I'm 6'7" around there.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've been there.
And your dad did the Panic VW shows, huh?
Yeah.
So how did he get into doing that?
I think that was just back, in that late 90s when everything was really surging, late 90s, early 2000s. And we had a really good venue in Upland. And we just kind of evolved into, we were going to put on a show because the main thing was you had 2 jamborees and a classic. That was kind of it back in the day. So we wanted to put on another show in the streets, and that's how it came about.
Yeah, one of the first shows I went to that was like a legit VW show, it would have been early 90s, late 80s. I can't remember. It could have been anywhere from 89 to 92, but it was the VW Jamboree that was at the Costa Mesa Fairgrounds, right off the 55.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from the desert, man, I'd cruise in this town, and I would just we'd go by these little seedy motels they have all by there, and you just see all Volkswagens lined up in the hotel alleyways, and you're like, bro, everybody here's got a Volkswagen. You know what I mean? It just seemed like Vegas, right? Like when you go to Vegas, like, wow, there's everything here, but it's not real. It's like everything's kind of a facade, so it's all there for just the weekend. But it was like the coolest thing because, like right now back home, we're here in Yorba Belinda, and right now it's 70 some degrees. Back home, it's probably 105, 103, right? And it's a little warm.
Yeah.
It's pool weather. And but we'd come out here in the summertime, see all these Volkswagens, and this is the time when cars had scallops, crazy paint jobs. Raspberry started being a real popular color again in like the early. It started late '90s. It started to resurge again because there was an oval window that had some nice stuff. But yeah, we would look forward to coming to the shows out here. But for you guys, I guess you get kind of jaded, right? The weather's always nice. And you want to have a show.
Yeah.
So your dad starts the Panic, and I don't think I'd ever been to the Panic, but I mean, obviously, pretty huge turnout. Seems like anytime you have a VW show, you get a pretty good turnout out here in Southern California.
It'd always be around 250 cars around that.
And so you're growing up like your dad's into VWs, and so you're just like VWs are like, all right, cool, but you're also a hot rod guy too, right?
Yeah.
You're also kind of like hot. I mean, listen, it's really weird in this scene, right? Because like I've got a '65 Buick Riviera.
Okay. Ooh.
And so I've had that car since 1996.
Okay.
And what got me in that car is I love all cars, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I saw that car in Car Stereo Review 1995 issue. Jimmy Ray Vaughn's got a lime green Riviera in there on 54 Skylark wires. I finally finish my bug. I blow the motor up, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with these cars. I'm getting a real car. And I go to this guy's driveway, and I buy this '65 Buick Riviera. I've had the car ever since. It's kind of cursed because it's kind of like kind of like a rebound girlfriend type thing.
Yep.
So this car, I still own it to this day, and it never lets me forget that I gave up on my love of Volkswagens to buy this car. But I still love all cars, and it's interesting that in this hobby there are some people that are just like, oh yeah, dude, it's VW or nothing for me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I love Volkswagens. I mean, that's like my core.
Yeah.
But I love Porsches. I love hot rods. I love all kinds of stuff. If it's cool, man, I'm into it. So
Yeah.
So you, growing up with your dad being a hardcore VW guy, what's your first car that you get? Is it a Volkswagen or is it a hot rod?
Yeah, Volkswagen.
What year Volkswagen?
So I started off, I'd actually bought, so we had a car club too, and the way I made money was detailing. So I detail everyone's cars and I had bought a 62 Bug and basically kind of got it ready and flipped it over at Pomona, got enough money, and then my first actual car that I drove was a 56 Combi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, original paint and pressed bumpers.
That's a nice first car. This is kind of right. What year is this?
99.
So it's right around when buses are becoming.
Bus-
They're just breaking into Coolsville because I did my bus in 2003, the Bull Run bus.
Okay, yeah.
And it was like
remember that one.
most everybody was just still doing like, kind of the same 3 or 4 wheels, maybe lowered. Not a lot of buses were really getting lowered. This is right at the pinnacle when buses start getting kind of cool. So, and you're rocking a 56 Combi.
I bought for $2,000 too. $2,000.
Yeah, it's nuts the stories that of the stuff that you get out here. And so what ends up happening with that car?
So I got that car and drove that about halfway through high school and went to a jamboree, and I saw a Type 3 ghia, and looked. And
What kind of Type 3 ghia? What color
my
was
ghia
it?
that I saw there.
Oh, your car?
So, yeah. So trip out on this. I see it, and it's blue with a white top and has sprint stars on it. And I look over and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like I don't know. All the Volkswagens I know, what is that? And started talking to a guy. So I got home and I put an ad in the recycler, 56 bus, trade for a Type 3 ghia. And lo and behold, this guy calls and he says,
the same guy?
Same guy calls me and he says, I got a Type 3 ghia. It's 6 volt. I hate this piece of shit. I want a bus. I said, okay. So I put this motor together, put it in my bus. He came down and he's like, good, let me take it away. I don't want this car because it's too much of a pain in the ass. And that's how I got my ghia, was traded straight across when I was 18 in high school.
So it was sea blue and white? It was the stock colors?
It was like a dark blue on the top, and it had a spray painted ivory roof on it, and it had the 4-bolt sprint stars, the original engine, and all 6-volt.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've got a picture from the early jamborees of a blue and white one lowered on fully polished 5 spokes. The first time I saw a Type 34, and I was just like I think the first time you see a Type 34 when you're a VW guy, and you're just like, bro, what is this thing? And it's so cool looking because it kind of, people are going to probably say something about this. It kind of borderlines on a little bit of ugly, but a ugly, like at first when you first see like, what is that? Because it kind of looks like a frog in the front a little bit. But then after you start looking at it and you really pick up like these Italian design, like these body lines, all stuff, I think they're a car that's the epitome of the 60s. You know what I mean? Like the design on those things.
Yeah.
So you had a big motor in the bus and you just threw another motor in the bus
No, I
to
just
get
had
rid
a
of it?
small motor in the bus, just something I had,
So you get this Type 34 ghia and you're into speed and performance and all that stuff. And so you're just like, so everywhere you're going like, hey man, I'm going to build this Type 34 ghia. And people are like, dude, you're an idiot. No one does fast Type 3s.
Pretty much.
Like everybody's like, you're going to upright the motor, you're going to this, you're going to that. And so how do you get on this mission to where you end up drag racing this Type 34?
Well, I've always been kind of a gearhead, and that was when DKP was really starting to come back around, 93, 94.
Yeah.
So, and Dairy Queen back in the late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
It was cracking. So I already knew I wanted something that, cow look.
Right.
And I've always liked to be different, and I don't like when somebody tells me no.
Right.
And so to be different was, I got to have a split window. That's out of my budget as a teenager. Yeah. And I saw that ghia come around, and it was like, okay, that's what I need to do. And I got that, and then met Dave Rhodes in 98, 99, and that's when I started talking to him, and Dave was the first one. He's like, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Let's build an engine. And
really?
Then the transmission, Beecher had built the transmission.
Yeah.
And Beecher, if you know him, same attitude, like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it just became a mission that I was still going to use the Type 3 engine, and the lip where the deck lid sits down, I found a busted up fastback. We cut that lip out to extend the engine base so it still looks stock with the IDAs.
Oh, really?
Up.
So
Yeah.
you just made it a little bit wider?
Made it a little bit wider so you could have the IDAs on there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was just pretty much game on from there, and I just used the recipe for a cowlet.
And so because I remember that car had Urcos on it?
Yeah.
So it had Urcos on it, and then it had, what's the first motor setup you had in it?
Well, whatever was in it before, which was I think the stock 1500, and then after that, the only motor combo I've ever had, 8494.
8494. So you throw that thing in there, what kind of cam?
I had a FK89.
So you had a K89, the 2332,
Yeah.
and then what are you running for heads on it?
Steve Timms.
Steve Timms heads, huh?
And it's the weird, I weighed that car and it was 2250, and the engine was pretty mild. It's 8494, 42 by 37.5 stage 2 Steve Timms heads, 125 rockers, 40 millimeters, an 09 distributor. They didn't make an exhaust back then, so that was the first Type 3 big exhaust Tiger made for me.
Oh, really?
It was the very first Type 3 exhaust that they made. And then also the CSP, the truss bar linkage that went up, they hadn't made those. I was the first one to get one of those because on a Type 3, that's the forks detach.
Yeah.
So a traction bar doesn't work on a Type 3.
So they did the triangular yoke.
Yeah, so I had one of the first ones of that.
Oh, really?
And the compression was only 11-1 on that engine. And
only 11-1?
Oh, well, that's the funny thing. So it was 2250. It was only 11-1, and I went out to Irwindale, and I was cutting 1.4 60 foots with a heavy car.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to Carlsbad. Scott Bakken was actually going down there. So all right, let me go meet you down there. And Chris Loffer had his notchback, and we were talking. He's like, take your seats out of it and go see what happens. And I took my seats out of it, and that was when that cowlook.com, the top 20. And I clicked off a 1203 right off first pass.
And this motor is still pancake. Still pancake motor.
Yep.
And what would you shift at?
When it's ready to go.
Yeah.
It was around $8,000.
And the fan, was the fan welded and balanced?
Yep.
So you pulled out all the tricks on this thing because you're working with Dave Rhodes, who's like engine builder, old school dude. So you guys had welded the fan also. You didn't wait for it to come apart.
Oh, I blew 3 fans up.
Oh, so you blew 3 fans up, and then you're like, we got to weld these fans.
Blew the welded fans up.
Really?
Yep. Both Loffer and I had talked, and we figured that a Type 3 motor, around 180, 190 horsepower, the Type 3 fan setup, that's when it blows up. And I shot my fan at Vegas, and Chris had done it at Carlsbad, and so that was the time. Once I did that, I put on a stock, like a Type 1 pulley, because it just couldn't handle the horsepower. And it got dynoed at VW Trends Dyno Day in 2004. I think it was like, I don't even know, like 180, 190 horsepower, but the jet setup was wrong. So I think it had more around 210, 220. So yeah, those fans don't work.
Well, still, a 12-second pass in a Type 3, full body, full glass Type 3.
Yeah.
And then did you replace the rubber mounts on the yoke, the rear yoke that goes in?
Yeah.
Did you put solid mounts in there, or you still had rubber ones in there?
Still rubber mounts with bus snubbers in the back.
Dude, that's like it's funny because you can spend, I've seen people spend 50, 60, 80,000 bucks building a drag car, and you have a street car with the right setup, and you'll run just as fast on a budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's interesting where you put the money.
Yeah.
And so how long do you have the Type 34 for? So you get on the list.
Yeah.
On the Cowlook top 10.
Yeah.
Now, are people giving you a hard time like Type 3 can't be Cowlooks? Anybody give you that kind of nonsense?
I got some shit when I took the bumpers off and put the T-bars on.
Yeah.
I showed up to a Dairy Queen meet, and it's kind of like, ugh. And I had the first exhaust I had made, go out the driver's side, just like stock Type 3, and it just didn't look right. So I had that on my small motor. So when I did the big motor, I flipped the exhaust around, and I just took the T-bars completely off, and kind of got some shit just that it didn't look right, which I agree. That bumper really ties the front end.
Yeah, that blade, because it almost swoops too far below.
Yeah, it accents the whole car, but I think then when I went out and started running some passes, it was justifiable.
Yeah. So you have that car, and so the whole time, what's your first time to your last time? What are you running in that car?
The best time I ran in that, I clicked off, it was an 11.9 something at Carlsbad one day. And then after my first pass, the thing would always slow down a tenth, 2 tenths. But then I'd run consistent 1220s, 1210s all day long down at Carlsbad.
Huh. And how long did you run that car for?
That car ran through 2005. And
2005.
And then after that's about when I think I sold it.
Now you just were like, well, I'm going to move on. I'm going to get a different project. I've had my way with the Type 34. And
No, I was in my 20s, and I said, well, which one am I going to do? Spend all my money and time on cars or spend all my money at the bar on girls?
Right, so you chose like,
Yeah, I chose bar and girls for my 20s.
Bars and girls right now.
Yeah.
So you sell the car. Now, did you just put it up for sale, or
Yeah.
because Pip ends up buying it? Pip bought it from you, or he bought it from somebody you sold
Yeah,
it to?
Pip brought it for me. Yeah, I put it out in the Samba. He called me, and he picked it up probably within a week of that I had it on the...
What'd you sell that car for back then?
Oh, shit. I think it was like $9,000, $8,000.
With the motor?
Yeah.
Holy
yeah.
crap, bro.
Maybe 12. Yeah, it was super,
Super cheap.
super cheap. Yeah.
Now you get a Hulk of a Type 34 for $10,000. dude.
Exactly, yeah.
No, nothing done to it.
Yeah.
So you could have bought yourself a 12-second Type 34 for $9,000 back in
Something
in
like that.
05.
Yeah, it was real cheap. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And then you decide so you take kind of a break for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when do you pick up the 55?
So I took a break, just life, and then I bought my house in 2010. So leading up before that, I had moved back in with my parents, and my parents said, hey, move back in, save up a little money to buy a house. And during that time, that's when I threw it out to my dad. I was like, well, they weren't really charging me rent or anything. Let's get you out of your fund. Let's build another car. And my mandate was it had to be 55. It had to be a half-year American with the bullet turn signals and the egg taillights. And we found one on the Samba in 2008, and body was just perfect, had everything there. And I know for what we bought it for, by the time we sold the stock seats and the pan and everything out of it, it came out, the car was like $800, $900 for us.
No way.
Yeah. Once we sold everything off just to get back to base, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. And a solid car, not rusted, nothing.
All the metal work had been done on it. It was just in a sealing coat of primer. Everything was there, tail lights, and yeah, it was.
The eggs, I think, are the eggs harder to find than heart taillights?
I think so.
I think I agree with you, because
Yeah.
I was walking through doing an Instagram live yesterday, and I was looking at Beecher's car and it had hearts on it. I'm
Yep.
like, I don't know if hearts are original for a 53 or not, because I'm not that techie guy when it comes to like the original details.
Yeah.
And some guys are saying it was original, but the eggs are 55. It's like a 1 year only taillights.
Half year only.
It's a
yeah.
half year.
Yeah.
So the eggs are pretty valuable. I like the look of the eggs. I mean, I think it's just such a super unique taillight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the half year just depends on, because the eggs could have, it's European, they'll have semaphores.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's American, so that has the bullet turn signals on it.
So is your rear taillight, is the internal taillight housing different on the egg for the U.S. car?
No, it's
So
still just a little.
It just flashes.
Yeah, you can barely see it.
Yeah, no. I saw you when we were driving the other day. I was behind your car, and I was like, man.
You can,
I'm like, those taillights are so small, and especially in the daylight, it's like you're
Yeah.
you're hoping somebody sees them. And
Yeah.
the way people drive nowadays,
Yep.
it's it's a risk. So you buy this car, you guys strip it down. What's the game plan when you buy the 55?
Pro gas.
Yeah.
That was really, I was always into, racing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was, let's build a show car, pro gas, super gas type car. So we built it.
Because is this before or after the Duran Kafer?
This was while Ren Kafer was pretty much kind of going on. Well, so we started building the car in 2008. Ren Kafer kind of started taking a shit around 2010. We brought the car out, but PRA was still around. So and super gas class was when Scott, everybody was running the 1190 index. So it was a pretty happening class.
And you were going for 1190 index car?
Yeah. First time we took it out, ran 1140 on it up in Sacramento. So it was right out the gate.
Nice.
Yeah.
And who built the motor?
That motor was Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brothers Machine built it for you?
Brothers built all the motors.
And what was the recipe on that motor?
Same kind of combo, 8494 FK89, 44 by 37 5 heads, 1.4 rockers, but that one had 14-to-1 compression. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes quite a difference. I was pretty impressed. I'm over there talking to Dave Glasazzo, I think his name is. Over there's got the green split that belonged to
Oh, yeah, Dave Glassy?
Dave Glassy, yeah. And I'm talking to him, and he said that motor that he's got, it's running 8-to-1 compression and ran a 12, and I thought, well, that's 2110.
That's
and I thought,
moving.
But again, that's that's it's low compression, but he's running that, and it's and that's just wringing its neck and getting everything you can out of it. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, being at the Schley's this weekend and talking to those guys over there with what they were running with. I think a 2180 or 2110. They're running 10s, and it's like, but they went through and their thing was more lightweight, like no weight in the car, 1,060 pounds, I think their car weighed. But it's interesting how you see the combos all over. I mean, Mike Smith was running 11s with a 1776,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, in that, he's on the squeeze, and you're just spinning those RPM. So it's funny, you look at all these different engine combos and so many different things, different results you can get out of them. And now you see today's market, today's scene is kind of like the drag and drive thing, with the turbos. But so you set out to build this car to make it for like a pro gas car. And how long does it take you to build the car start to finish?
About a year and a half, 2 years.
And what's suspension wise on that car?
It's just got up front. It's got adjustable shocks all the way around. The front set at like 90-10. The back's it's a single setting shock that just got mild, I guess. 30 millimeter torsion bars. That's pretty much.
So it's nothing super extravagant. I mean, just good shocks.
Yeah,
and
shocks,
set up
mounted,
right.
all that. Yeah.
So weight transfer on that car is like it hooks and
it
goes.
It hooks and books. Yeah, it goes.
And you've got bus numbers on the back of that thing.
No.
So that's
all
shock and torsion bar.
Yeah, and those 30 millimeter torsion bars, they really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're.
How's it drive on the street? A little stiff in the back. Or you don't.
Yeah,
know?
I mean it's kind of bouncy in the back if I get on it.
I mean, especially here on these freeways out here, man, they're pretty.
Yeah.
They're pretty crazy. It's closer gearbox than that.
Yeah.
Is it 4-speed or Berg 5?
It's a 4-speed, but I got a 104 so I can cruise 75, 70, no problem on the freeway.
And what's the ring and pinion on that car?
411.
Is it 411?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then you get that car. Who does the upholstery on it?
That was Lenny back in the day. Lenny Cox.
So Lenny does the upholstery in that thing.
Yeah.
Except for the Kirkey seats, right? Those are.
Yeah.
I look at those seats and I'm like, those are the world's most uncomfortable seats.
They're actually not bad.
Really?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. They look uncomfortable. They're not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They hold you in place, that's for sure.
Yeah, they do put your butt in place. Yeah.
So, but that was the wild thing I remember seeing that car when it came out, because you just see the seats, right? And you're like, this dude's all business. This guy doesn't want 1 ounce. And you learned your lesson, right, when they told you, hey, go pull your seats out of your car and run it again.
Yeah.
You just pull those Type 3 seats out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
those
like,
things are heavy.
these things are like 80 pounds. It's like taking 2 kids out of the back
It
seat.
is, yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. So you get the car. What color's the car?
It's a mango green, but we darkened it a little bit, so it's just a little off the L code.
Okay, so it's a custom mango mix.
Yeah.
And then wheels, tires on there are...
Those are the Torkers when they first came out. And then I just got the correct caps that you'd see like on an American rim and the stickers I don't want to take care of mags.
You're right.
Yeah.
Look, bro. I polished mine one time, dude.
Yeah, I'm at the point I drive hard, and my luck, I'd probably crack a mag, so I just didn't want to deal with it.
I've been pretty lucky. I'm knocking on the table real quick. So now so you're the youngest member of, well, let's finish the story about the car. So then we talked engine, gearbox, we talked suspension, paint, interior. Now, how do you end up becoming a member of DKP? What was the process on that, and how long did that take you? And
so we raced the car for a while, and then in Phoenix, I had a fuel leak problem, and when I pulled the front end, the header hit the apron and cracked the paint. And at that time, too, it was like right about a year and a half after I bought my house, so I was kind of in remodel mode, and my dad was kind of pissed off just because racing costs a lot of money. So the car got shelved, and shelved for about 2 years, and then finally I hit up the guy that painted it, Paul Smoot, who does a lot of the German folks cars. Yeah, so I hit Paul, and I was like, hey, I need to get this repainted. And then I had Kevin Richards redo my transmission, and then sent the engine back to the brothers, and we kind of dumbed it down just a little bit with the first engine. And I know all the guys from DKP from back in the late 90s and whatnot, so I knew the direction I was going to go.
And so you knew the DKP 3 guys, like your pals with Greg and all those guys.
Oh yeah. I've known them since back, or the late 90s from my dad. And
so what's the process? Like is your intention to become a member, and then you're already friends with the guy? Because some people think it's just about the car, but I was talking with Greg a little bit ago, and he says, it's a lot to do with the car and the guy. Like it's the car and the person, right? Like you really get both in the club, and some people it's just about the car, and next thing you got some freaking wild card out there just acting a fool. So that was your intention to get in the club, and then You're talking with the guys like, hey, I'm going to build the car. I'm going to build it for the club. Is there a set of rules? Like, what's the deal if you're trying to do that, right?
I mean, the basic rules for DKP are, a clean, fast, simple cow look car that runs $13.99 or quicker. That's pretty much the solid DKP rules. Everybody I know has their definition of cow look. Oh, you got trim on it, you got this and that. But I knew the way the car looked. It's already pretty traditional cow look, and the race style. And being in Volkswagens forever, it was kind of like DKP's that cap to doing a lot of things. So,
yeah, it's the top.
Yeah, so when I showed back up to a Dairy Queen night, a Farmer Boys night, you have to go to, show up to 3 meetings. They have to talk about you, and they have to let you know going in. But I think Greg's right in that you have to have that right personality, because I've seen guys even from when I wasn't in the club come in and great cars, but they're assholes. And it's like you said, it's a brotherhood, and you want to have that tight, hey, let's help each other out, let's do that, not have that animosity just because someone brings the recipe for success. But if their attitude's wrong, it's no fun.
So you get the car, and then when you debut the car, did you debut it at a DKP meet?
Yeah.
At the
Cruise night.
And that was 2010's Cruise Night, you're thinking?
No. When I debuted it with the street stuff, I think that was 2019 or so, somewhere.
So then you came back out after you had it. So you built it specifically race car, parked it, and then you redo it. You kind of bring it to make it a driver.
Yeah.
And then that's when you kind of go through, clean it up again, get a little more. Well, you get the Paul Smoot paint job, right? We know what that's.
But no, it was painted by Paul when I was racing and everything.
Oh, was it really?
So
you just had him refix what he did originally?
Yeah, he just fixed what he did, and then I added, because since it was a race car, I only had the one seat in it, I added the second passenger kirkey seat. And, but yeah, I kind of kept the setup the exact same way it was built for when we were racing it.
And when you drive that car, so now that you've kind of made a street version of it, what, like that thing, no problem, cruises the freeway, all that stuff. I mean, obviously, listen, guys, I've been out here driving these California streets for the past couple of days. I'll tell you right now, here's the secret. If you've never been out of California before, the left 2 lanes, which should be the fast lane, are the slow lane. And everybody is speeding in the fast. So people are on and off this freeway at 1,000 miles an hour, cutting people off. It's usually a girl in an Altima, 3-lane crossover. And, it's pretty I mean, I drove yesterday. I had to drive the Chop Top from Northridge to here. It was a 2-hour drive.
Oh.
And I took the 210 the whole way, and I took the 210. It had me switch a bunch of stuff, but man, it's a lot of stopping and starting on the freeway over here. So freeway drive is not what you think of freeway drive when you come out here. Freeway drive is it's more like it's more like street light driving.
Yep.
So it's a pretty hairball, especially the way I think about those little taillights. And then when I'm out here and I see them big trucks, I'm in the Type 34. It sits so low to the ground. You're a lot more alert out here for sure, man, because you got to be ready to go. So you re-debut the car 2019.
Yeah, something like that.
And then at this point, you're already a member of the club, or not yet?
No. I brought it out to a couple meetings just to kind of say, here's the car, and then I brought it to Cruise Night and won the award. Like I said, I don't even remember when that was. And then after I won the award, it was probably still another 1.5 years, 2 years before I got in the club, just because it was just they weren't letting members in. There was a long period of time where we didn't let members in this club, so I kind of reopened that re-entry and get back in, and I was the youngest, and
Well, yeah, and you're still at 43. You're the youngest member of the DKP.
Yeah.
And we're here at the 60th anniversary, which is super cool, man. I mean, you look at some of these guys and you think, even when you looked at your dad when you were younger, you're thinking like, well, he's not going to be in a Volkswagens forever, but it's like we look over here and we got guys pushing 80 years old that are over here. They still got Volkswagens, but the funny part, I think it's kind of a generational thing, right? I think, especially like as our generations have gotten younger, guys that are at least into the hobby, enthusiasts, people like that. Like we're kind of the generation that like we refuse to grow up. Like we're always going to drive our Volkswagens. I mean, just try to go snowboarding. I still get on a skateboard every now and again. Think I know how to ride a skateboard.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where, it's fun. It's really, you get to a point in life where you're comfortable and kind of my parents were a little more old school. My dad didn't have any hobbies. He didn't have enough money to have any hobbies. You know what I mean? Like he was just trying to piece his life together. And then it's like, I'm at a point where I really got into hobbies even when I was poor and broke. And I was like, I was like, dude, I'm buy this $200 bug, dude, and I'm gonna be cool. I'll buy this
Yeah.
bug. This is gonna make me cool, right? And so
Yeah.
I buy this bug, and I think I'm the coolest thing in the world in this piece of crap. But it was just one of those things where it was like, it's mine. I built it. I did it. You know, and then you just start this whole thing where it's like the hunt for the next project or something cool. I mean, not all of us can be Lee Bashaw. I bust Lee's chops all the time because Lee's had his car, and I'm like, I wish I could be a one-car happy dude, like just have my one car
Never.
and be happy. But it's like, I always like, I like, every car has a bit of a personality to me, and I think like, oh, that one, I'm like the cat lady with cars. That one needs help. You know, so
I know the feeling.
yeah, it's become bad at my house because now my house is like, from one angle, it's like, oh, this is a nice house, and there's like, who's all these junk cars over here? You know, I'm like, shh, quiet, go away. But so it's definitely something where, you know, with us being here and seeing all these cars and such a wide variety of vehicles. I mean, there's obviously you got Russell, who's shipped in cars from halfway around the world that
Yeah.
used to originally be here, and then there's just an onslaught of people here that are from all over Belgium, France, Brazilian guys, all like everybody that's heavy in the cow look, they're here this weekend. So
Yeah.
now, have you been overseas yet?
Not yet. Yeah.
You got to go.
We're
man.
talking. I was
You
just
have
telling my
got to
wife. I said,
go.
you know, I think I
You
want to do
gotta
EBI
go.
next year.
You have to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so it's so worth it to go because I think what happens is the first time you fly over there and you realize that like it watered up a day,
Mhm.
but it's only a day, and now you're on the other side of the world. It's a completely unique experience, especially like it's one thing to go somewhere and be a tourist.
Mhm.
It's a whole different ballgame to show up and hang out with VW guys, and like they show you just what the locals do, like because that's really like what it's like to live there. You just go hang out with locals, doing what locals do. Not, I mean, you got to do some of the tourist stuff. You have to. You got to do a couple days.
Yeah.
Do that, get it out of you and the wife's system.
Yeah.
And then like, all right, let's go hang out with some of my buddies over here, and it just becomes. It's a really interesting experience, but I think what you really realize is how small the world is, and it's like boom, you can be. I mean, yeah, I've been a couple times. I'm going twice.
Got to go.
I'm going twice in the next 3 months.
Wow.
So I'm going for Viva Skeg Vegas. I'm going in August, and then I'm going to go back for the Cowlook caravan that's going from Scotland to
Yeah, I've heard
to
that one.
Netherlands.
Yeah.
The red car's probably going.
Yeah, I've heard
So,
that one's a good one.
Yeah, it's just so fun to go to the other side of the world and find like all these guys are in the same thing that we're into.
Yeah.
And then they got a lot of super clean stuff over there. They got a lot of rules to contend with over there.
Yeah.
A lot. So we're pretty spoiled when we come back out here, and we're just like,
definitely.
I can drive this rattle trap. So, so now you kind of kick off and get inducted into the club. Now, are you when you debut your car at the meet,
Mhm.
you get the award for the debut car
Yeah,
for their
yeah.
favorite Cowlook car?
Yeah.
And when you get that, are you a member?
No.
And so then after that, you become a member. How soon after that?
Probably about a year or two.
And so because the club's got a real diverse group of guys,
Yeah.
a lot of different ages, a lot of different generations in that
Yeah.
club. So there's always going to be, different viewpoints of different things, and you've been, as long as you got the car, you're a member of the club. You got to stay fairly. I mean, I would assume they'd expect you to be fairly active, like someone involved, show up at meets and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, how many meets do they do a year?
So we'll have our cruise night, and then we have our events. And usually, the past few years, we have 5 mandatory events, and the club goes to that. It's been, this year's there's so many events.
Yeah, because it would have normally been like the bug-in and some things like that.
Yeah, it used to be like the Bug-ins, the Jamboree Classic. Then we have our cruise night, and
Right.
then we have our Christmas cruise that we do. I know the club, since it's originated in Orange County, they kind of stick to a lot more Orange County stuff. The only time they've ventured out is like when it was Bug-in in Fontana or
Right.
like in Irwindale.
Yeah. So you're a member of the club. You've been in the club since what? Since like 2020?
Something like that.
Something like
yeah.
that. So you're in there 5 years. You've been driving the car on and off, not to whatever events, but
Yeah.
it's tough to make it a regular driver just because of the craziness out here, bro. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. But I mean, I hear you guys got good weather, and then over there in Ontario, you're a little more inland over there in Ontario, right?
Yeah.
But over there, I mean, there's plenty to do. Now you're also a bit of a hot rod guy too, right?
Yeah.
So how'd you get into hot rods starting out being in the VW world?
I'm someone that always likes to challenge myself and learn something new. and I think I was always intimidated by V8s. And so it was around 2013, 2014, I decided I was going to try to start getting into things. And I got this 53 Cadillac, this 4-door.
Oh, bro.
And that was just like the bomb around town. My wife loved it. You know, we go to the beach in it. And then I sold that, and I got a 64 Impala. And then I bagged that and put Daytons on it and whatnot, and then found out I'm just not the right shade to be driving.
You're not an Impala guy.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I burned out of that scene real quick.
So here's an interesting thing. So some people may or may not know this. 1992, I was carjacked here in LA. I was in my 76 Cutlass.
Okay.
I just got some spokes on it. I just got some McLeans, and I was, before I had my Volkswagen, I was kind of I may have had my Volkswagen at the time, but it was like a 62 Primered Bug, just beater. And then I had my daily driver, which is a 76 Cutlass, but then I had it on McLean's. I was like, dude, we got to go cruise Crenshaw. Yeah, bro. After I got carjacked, I said, you know what, dude, I'm going back to bugs. Because, you know, I don't got to drive around with the grimace on my face like I'm ready to kill somebody all the time. And I'm trying to just cruise and enjoy my life. But I really have this desire to have another lowrider. But you're right. It's kind of a... It's kind of a thing where it's a different vibe. Everybody's kind of on edge.
Very pensive.
Yeah. And it's just kind of something that's a bummer because it's such a great. I mean, I just had Zorba in the lowrider show, and it was cool going there. But you know, there's, you know, to some people, it's everything to them. Their car is the whole world, and so people take some stuff a little too serious sometimes in that scene. So, yeah, I get it, man. When I got carjacked, I was kind of mad. My attitude was like, you can't have nothing nice in this scene. You always got to be like on point and all this stuff. And people kind of give me a hard time because I come out here with my Volkswagens and they're like, "You're parking it outside?" I'm like, "Yeah, why is there gonna be an issue over here?" But you know, I may be naive, but I've yet to have any major issues. I mean, back home in Vegas, we don't have many issues, but in the same respect, it's a different crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you get rid of the Impala.
Yeah.
And then what do you decide to move on to?
I went and bought clapped out 1930 Model A body, and went and bought some 32 Ford rails, and met this guy based off Craigslist I bought some parts off of, and he said, "I'll help you build a car." So I was like, "All right, fuck it." So I didn't own a magazine. I was on social media. I didn't do anything. I just looked it up. All right, flatheads go on this, and I built a 30 Model A Roadster in like 3 months.
Really?
Yep, put it all together, and when it was done, it was kind of very traditional style. And then so I started looking at like some hot rod magazines. I'm like, all right, I think I kind of got that flavor. So I did that, and then from there I sold that, and I bought an original 32 Roadster body, and all original, and I built that and debuted that in 2019.
Where at?
Grand National.
And how was it received?
It was good. It was good. And there was a guy that kept pestering me about buying it. I'm like, no, it's not for sale. And a few years back, he's like, oh, is it for sale? And I'm like, yeah, here's the price. He's like, oh, well, I don't want to pay it. I'm like, it's not for sale. I don't care. And
right.
a week later,
here's the not for sale price.
Yeah, and he came back and called my bluff. And the not for sale price was 125 grand. So
for a 32.
Yeah, all original. I mean, down to the T. So
you made it as traditional as possible and tried to use original. It's like you went for like an unrestored original look.
Nothing older than 39. I used to call it Grandpa's Hot Rod because it was basically a stock 32. It just had a dropped axle in the front, but I had this 32 Packard dash in it, and it's a set of gauges you can't find anywhere. And so it was just a very early war type car with no parts over 39. And but all detailed out to the max, the stuff I like to do. So it was worth the price if you understand what you're getting.
Yeah. Now you've also said you've written some articles for some magazines and stuff like that. So what is that in the hot rod world, in the Volkswagen world, or which one?
Yeah, hot rod world, and that's actually so at Grand National, a guy had approached me about the car, saying, "Hey, can I feature it?" And he started this magazine called Speed and Culture, and then come to find out, he's like, "Oh, do you know how to write?" I said, "Sure." And so from issue, I think 4 through like 17, I was just started writing 2 or 3 articles for each one, just calling guys up and kind of running with it. And it's easy for me. If I talk to someone for a half hour and just have pictures of it, I can turn something into, 2,000 word, 3,000 word article.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so it was just... went from there.
That's a lot of work. So you started. So you were a contributing writer for Speed and Culture for a while.
Speed and Culture, this other website, Cheater Slick Culture, and I started doing some tech articles like on sheet metal repair or whatnot. Like I said, we were talking about the Volkswagen magazines. Those are unknowingly published articles that I wrote.
Right,
you know.
right.
But yeah, it's like I said, all in total, it was something around 30 articles or something like that I've written before, and kind of gotten the whole flavor of the magazine world.
Oh, look at this! As we're sitting here on the doing the podcast,
Was that Zavala's car?
in rolls the burglar
Wow.
on a tow rig.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
It looks like it. Rather, that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah, I
that's
see
the
the roll
burglar, yeah.
cage in it.
Yeah, I didn't know that car was coming out.
Wow.
Huh.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wonder how it got down here. Yeah.
There's a at the Roadster show, I said, I want to talk to you. I wanted to pull him to the side and talk to him and just get his whole story. And unfortunately,
Passed away.
if I had everybody that I said, hey, I want to talk to you, if I had everybody on the podcast, I have 320 out right now.
Okay.
I would have 500 out right now because so many people have been like, hey, because for me, it's this. It's you and me hanging out, chatting, just talking about your story, talking about things in common and stuff like that. And the listeners love that, but it's like, bro, we're all not promised tomorrow, man. And if your story could be stuck out there for cyberspace forever, that's so cool. And and it's just a shame that that happened to Rick Zavala over there, like shortly after the Roadster. Because I had a million questions about buying the burglar. Like, what was it like? What's the vibe? Like, why did you buy it? Did you think at the time it was sold? It was like, how much for that car? You're crazy. Like $12,900.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it was like, and you're just selling your car in 2000 something, and that car sold in the 90s for $12,000. And it's just nuts, man.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy deal, man. To look at this hobby that we have. And to be able to have people that have the vision to say, yep, I'll buy it, like sight unseen, not sight unseen, but like I know and appreciate what's been done to that, so I'm going to pay for it. Like the car that you built, right? Yeah. Somebody saw that and thought the time, effort, and energy it takes to do this, unless you're plugged in, people, you can get things and how, where, what, and all that.
Yeah, totally.
Then it's like it's going to take you 10 years, and time is money.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can have it today if you want it. So, yeah. So you were a contributor writer for magazines. So you enjoyed doing that. For a bit. Yeah. And it's interesting. We talk about magazines and things like that. And I remember one of the surprising things to me for the magazine was my first feature with the Bull Run bus in 2003 in Hot VWs. I was excited because it was going to be Hot VWs, not VW Trends. At the time, well, because there was there's the hierarchy between the two magazines, and it was I was super stoked, and they were coming out to Vegas. They were going to shoot it, so I'm like, all right, cool. So Bruce shows up. He's like, all right, did you pick a place where you want to shoot it? And I was like, no. I'm thinking like, what do I know? I'm not a photographer. But after my first photo shoot, I realized that if you're going to get your car shop, if you're scheduled for a photo shoot and there's going to be other stuff going on with respect to like take charge. That's what I can say. Take charge of your photo shoot as much as you can and come up with an A-B location. Make sure the location has something to do with how you want the car perceived, because sometimes people are just going to work and they're just getting through the day, and it's like, let's just click this off and be done. And
your car's just a day.
After that, it's like I was telling you with the photo shoot that it was Zorba. I wanted it shot in Vegas. The car's got a Greek theme to it. It's a Greek Roman hotel theme, but it's Vegas. It's where I'm from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like everything in that photo is just screaming Vegas, you know what I mean? Which is kind of one of the things, right? When we come out to these different shows, we're kind of repping our city or wherever we're from, because we all have that, like, cars from Vegas are pretty nice. And Vegas has put out a lot of nice cars over the past, dozen years or so. There's been probably a solid 10 really, really nice cars that have come out. But it's interesting with the photo shoots. I mean, you had a surprise when you submitted some description for your car.
Yeah.
and then the article gets produced, and it's basically what you wrote with a few spell check items.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, I thought they were gonna, because you're like, hey, I know what it's like, what it takes to write an article. I'm gonna give this guy all the information, and then have him do whatever he does. But I've always found it interesting, and it makes me go back and think when I read some of these articles, like, so is this whole story made up, or is this like legit? Because I try to write. I've taken the lead and written my stories only because I want the story told the way the way the thing was versus like this. Some stories were just like, and he knew he wanted to be cool, so he bought this, and then he knew chicks would dig that, so he got that. Like those were the stories in the '80s, right?
Very typical, and then just the blueprint.
So what's your take? So what's your vibe on magazines now? What's your personal feeling about magazines? Because you're still part of the generation that I consider part of our generation, right? Where we were magazine guys, right? And like magazines have a meaning to us because it was like first it's a bit of a status symbol, right? That your car got in the magazine or you're featured. We're all excited when we see that picture. Yeah. And then there's also the evolution of the hobby that's changed. I mean, as an industry, print media is kind of dying. Yeah. Big time. So understanding that, it's like magazines really they've got to give you a reason to pick them up. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes in our hobbies, things get a little too like, oh, they'll buy it because of nostalgia. And it's like, it's not working. It's not getting young kids in the scene. It's not getting young people enthusiastic about the hobby because it's got to be something that just snags your attention. What's your take on the magazine world, like, especially because you've been on both, right? You've been in the VW side, you've been on the hot rod side, and the hot rod's like the whole rockabilly vibe is like we're committed to living in the past. Yeah. Kind of, like a lot of those guys, and it's one thing to respect your tradition. It's another thing to go full Amish rockabilly, right? Like we're not using power windows, like, whatever, right? Like there's just a different vibe, right? It's the same. It's like every vibe is different. There's the VW, there's like the rockabilly vibe, there's the lowrider vibe, there's all the different. There's the hot rod vibe. Mm-hmm. There's all different kinds. So what's your take on the different types of magazines that are out there now? What's your personal feelings on it? Just out of curiosity.
I think the biggest things I think today, and even back in the day, number one has got to be, as you were talking, the creative photography. Because if you don't have something lit right, if you don't have the right background, if you don't have the right contrast, someone's not going to pick it up. And the same with social media, and everybody's got ADD now because everything's. I mean, my daughter, she watches stuff, and it's a 10-second clip,
If it's 11, it's too long.
Right. Attention span's not there. But I think it's also, when I write an article, you have a tech article and you have the article that you feel like you're behind the wheel. And I think a lot of times tenured photographers have a recipe. And if you look at them, they'll shoot the same. They have the same formats, plug and play for writing. And it loses interest because you're going to hear about why that person got the car, how it was built, where it was built, and they love life today. And you want to write the story, and you want to get the reader to start feeling like they're behind the wheel. You want to get the reader to have a connection to that article and catch their interest. And even if they don't catch their interest, by the time they're reading it, now they've learned something new, and they've not only read an article that kept them interested from word to word, now you spark that interest in maybe that culture or that article, and it's not just the cookie cutter bullshit.
It's conveying. It's really conveying. I think it's the I don't want to say struggle because struggle has become too cliche, but it's actually the struggle, right? Like, here I am, a guy, whatever socioeconomic scale I'm on, I want this, and I can't go buy this, so I have to build this, and then here's the bumps, bruises, and scrapes, or the battle I had to go through to get what I wanted. And I think there's too many stories that are not true. Like, this dude freaking fought it out with the painter, but you know what I mean. I think there's ways of creative ways of telling the story to where, listen, if the story in this car is like, it's a miracle this thing is done based on everything it's been through, and the changes and decisions and all these things that took place, because it really every build is completely unique. Yep. I mean, the goal is the same, right? Driving past a shopping mall, plate glass windows, looking in the mirror. You know what I mean? Like, there's the dude. Oh, that's me. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause that's the goal.
I'm not the only one that does it.
No, bro. That's the goal. but the journey there is so different for every one of us.
Yeah.
And it's for every individual car, because one car, it happens all the time. Guys will be like, oh yeah, got this car done in record time. In my blue car.
Yeah.
5 months start to finish.
I don't know how you did that.
But I didn't do it. Andy did it. But it was just like, but it's a thing where everything just happened to just boom, 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 just time out just right.
Yeah.
And there are cars where it's murderous getting through every single thing. And then, I've talked to buddies that are painters that just like, they got a car done, boom, reaction. And the whole car is like trashed, and they're, like, and then it sours their mood and everything kind of takes a turn. So it's interesting how there can be so much readable content if the desire was there to tell the story. And I think too many people just want to go, okay, so it's going to be Friday night, street races, plug this, like you were saying, and where it loses the interest. And I think the generation that we're in, we appreciate genuine truth. And some people are like, oh man, I'm not putting this guy on blast. It's not putting anybody on blast. It's telling the story of what the car is. And sometimes people get in a hobby all excited, and by the time they're done with the car, they're so beat up over it. They're just like, I'm freaking done with it. And that breaks my heart, dude, because I'm so protective of this thing that brings me so much joy, that I want everybody to have. I'm not trying to protect them to have a perfect experience, but sometimes when you see those people in the scene that they're sharks, and you're just like, bro, if somebody runs into that guy, they're going to get sold a bag of goods, they're going to have a terrible experience, and they're going to think everybody in the VW hobby's like this.
Yeah, but that you kind of hit the nail on the head there with sharks. And I go back to diving back to the today's society, the books and all, is that a lot of people are excited for the results, but they're not entertained by the journey. And people like me, I enjoy building the car more than I like driving it, but I like to show off the results, and I'm proud of what I do. And I think that's the same way when you write a magazine article. You want to have someone enjoy the journey, not just look at the pictures. And you get to, people getting burnt out, and it sucks, because if you jump into a hobby, and I even say with hot rods, I was newer into it 10, 12 years ago, the names and people that I looked at as, oh man, 10 years down the road, I find out, well, that actually is not a good person, or they were taking advantage of people and doing that. But that's the only name I knew, and you have to actually get in the scene and know people. And if you don't be involved and go to those car shows, all you see is what's on, who has a better Instagram, what pops up on my random feed. Oh, that person.
And that's
so, the cost of everything.
That's so crazy now, because people can create, and there's a few of them in the VW world, that they can just create a persona overnight. They can just ramrod a bunch of posts and get a bunch of likes and followers and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows who they are. They haven't really been vetted. And not that there's a council to vet anybody, but it's kind of like you got to pay your dues. And Instagram, that third-party filter has been a way where people are able to avoid, quote-unquote, and when I say pay their dues, like, be in the hobby for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. People buy Volkswagens, they see all these people like, I'm getting a bug, and then they get it and the clutch cable breaks. And they're like, this piece of crap. Like, bro, this hobby ain't for you.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not trying to tell you there's nothing wrong with you. This is what it takes to be in this hobby. It takes being okay with, like, hold on, babe, I got a valve cover leaking. Mm-hmm. Hold on, babe, I got, and sometimes you get these cars that run forever and you have no issues, and then you get some cars that are just filled with gremlins, and they're going to surprise you at every turn. Mm-hmm. But it's the cost of being in this hobby, And when you're in this hobby for the right reasons, you'll stick it out, you'll go through it. And that's where some of the brotherhood comes from. It's like, I know that you've been through the same crap that I've been through, and you're still here 10 years later, which means that you love it to the core. You're not here for a quick buck. You're not here for some sort of clout that you're going to get from whatever. So, and I think that's kind of the good, and that's another reason that when I started the podcast, one of the first people I interviewed was my buddy Greg Banfield, and I call him my buddy now. But I remember used to see him at the shows, and he's a big dude, and I look at him like, who's this guy? And then he'd look at me like, who's that guy? And we just kind of like, hey, what's up? One of those guys you see at the show all the time. You're like, hey, what's up, man? Like, I know that dude's face, whatever. Yeah. And the first time I ever had a really long conversation with him was on the podcast, and I got to meet Greg through that. But since then, I'll call him every now and again. We'll just shoot the breeze, and I consider him a friend because first, I've seen him around the hobby for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. Now we all have life and things that kind of influence how much we can be involved in our hobby or not. But it's like when you see people year after year, time after time, you know that they've got a level of commitment to be in the game, and there's a level of respect, a level of respect we have for each other, that we know that this both means something to us, to the point where we're willing to put up with all the little things that it's going to make us have to deal with to enjoy the hobby. But it's kind of cool. And again, it's back to like when I see guys like you that I've seen you forever around, we haven't hung out, had 10 beers together. I don't drink, but you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like we haven't, but it's that same thing where it's like at the core base level, we both know that we're in this hobby for the right reasons, that we're committed to this. And so switching gears now, your dad just sold his car.
Yeah.
How long's your dad had that car?
82.
Since 82, it's a 64 Beetle, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I grew up with that car.
Yeah. So how did it feel to you to what finally got him to the point of wanting to sell it?
He got soured from the Volkswagen scene, and then just getting older, and he had a cataract surgery about 4 or 5 years ago, and he hasn't been real comfortable driving after that. But it's been with him for so long.
It's part of the family.
He's of that generation, growing up. If 2 peas fall on the floor, oh, there's 2 cents of food, you better pick it up, or eat all your dinner. And but it happened organically. Max, the guy that wanted to buy it, he reached out, and Mark Akulian, he's working on it, and it just kind of came about where it was like, hey, I'm interested. And I reached out to my dad, and he basically said, I can't, I got too many emotions with it. If it's going to happen, here's the money I want, you make it happen. And every car I've sold, kind of our general rule is I don't want to see it, so it better get out of the country. And Max doesn't live here, and he's old. Bernard Newberry's old car, Keith Goss's chop top. He's had some good cars, so I know it's going to the right person that want to at least get that thing back and going. And Mark's been working on it now, so it was, as I told my dad, for him, got to look at it this way. You're closing a chapter, but, at your point in your life, you put a little bread in your pocket. You don't understand. You don't have to just not look at it in the garage. There's a big weight off your shoulders. Like, this is a mentally healthy thing for you.
And if you love the car, it's almost like I'd rather see that car, because part of it, I did a post on Instagram not long ago when we were in Europe, and it was after Dave Rhodes passed away, but the footage I took was from EBI, or from the Cowlook Caravan.
Okay.
And I was playing and I kind of did a talk over on it, and it was the Mamas and Papas song, and it's slow motion of the car just driving in a field in Europe. And I said, sometimes, it was rest in peace Dave Rhodes, and I was like, sometimes we build these crazy cars and we build them for us, but really truly our legacy is when these things live on without us, because it's our mark on the world. How little it is, right? Like, we didn't carve the Mount Rushmore, we didn't do all this stuff to leave our mark, but sometimes maybe that's the payback we get, right? When we build something that meant so much to us, but we're at a point where it's nothing. Like, it's not that it's nothing now, but it's like, I can't drive it, I can't use it like I can. I'm past that point in my life, but someone else that sees value in this thing, it lives on. So a piece of us lives on with that. So it's pretty cool, man, that your dad's actually able to see it and kind of turn the page on that thing, which is good for him to be able to do that and see the car bring joy to somebody else, because that's what these things do, right? I mean, even if it's a smirk we get when we're driving by the gas truck, looking at the mirror and the polished gas tank,
I was just saying, the polished fuel tank. You're looking at,
check it out, look at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, that's the it's a confidence booster for somebody else, and now it gets to go to the UK and make other people smile, make other people happy, man. So I think I think it's a cool thing. It's a hard thing. I mean, I told you when I got mad, sold my 63 Riviera, or my 63 Bug to buy the 65 Riviera.
Yeah.
Well, I sold it, and I was mad, and I was dead set to find the Riv. And then recently, I had this vein of nostalgia where I was like, dude, I got to find that car. So I tracked the car down. Then I reached out to the guy, and I'm like, hey, I'd like to get my car back. And he's like, I said, I built that car, and once I sold it, it was polar silver. Somebody changed it to like a teal blue metallic, so it was hideous. Still had the same wheels, same interior, same everything that I did. And it was built in the 90s, like 93, the car was built. So it was like tweed interior, billet knobs, but it was a Resto custom mod, right?
Okay.
So Porsche fully polished foam dolls. It just had a distinct look to this car.
Chrome louvered firewall.
Yes.
Yes.
And I reached out to the guy and I said, hey, I'm interested in getting this car back. I built it. I found it in the junkyard. My brother and I. And then, when I was a kid, I'm like, dude, this is going to my firstborn son. My firstborn son's 25 now. And it's like, I was like, it'd be cool to get that car back. I'm in a position now where I could get it back and do the car right, And I reached out to the guy and he's like, well, now I owned it from like 90, maybe 89, 90, 92, I think is when I got it, to like 96, I may have sold it. And then I bought it from the junkyard, had it painted, built the whole thing, got it done, blew the motor up, got mad, sold it. And I reached out to the guy. He goes, I got a lot of memories with this car. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, bro, you're talking about my car. And now in hindsight, here's the crazy part. He's had that. I had to reconcile the fact that I had that car for like 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. He's had that car since like he bought that car in 2000. So he's had that car for 25 years. Now, mind you, it's my dream that he's driving. Like I built the whole thing and he did some stuff to it. And it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, I can be okay not getting it back. But I said, listen, if you ever go to sell it, let me know. I'd be interested in buying it back. But I don't have to have it right now. Yeah. But it's just one of those things where I had to. At first, I was like, dude, no, bro, that's my car. Like, I don't care. And I'm thinking, like, no, bro, I'm in love with my girlfriend that he married. Like, hey.
Right?
That was kind of the thing in my head. Yeah. And so it's interesting because these cars, they kind of, every car is like an individual and they have some sort of meaning to us. But I think it's cool, man. I think it's cool that your dad's had that car for so long, and his legacy lives on in that car, moving to somebody else.
Well, it's like I've told him with that, and he kind of downplays his impact he's had on the scene and for how long he's been around and whatnot. But even any cars I built, I kind of have this theory where you're not going to reinvent the wheel. When I built a 32 Ford, built a Bug, you're not going to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
But if you can build something that you can stamp your name on that wheel, that's what's going to separate you apart. And so everybody's in this wheel, this circle of life. But when you could do that one thing that stands out while everybody's running on it, and to that, it's kind of like I told my dad, like, you're downplaying it, but you don't understand. You've been around for you brought me up into it. We were around when the started to come back around, when DKP was coming around, and 93 to 94 Jamboree. I remember when there's 5 of them. It was just Bill and Hector and Mason, just a couple of them. And he was around, and so I think he stamped his mark on the scene from participation and being through the evolution of the louvered running boards, the center lines, wink mirrors.
No, it's cool, man, and it's and I probably need to get your dad on the podcast. We got to talk about the VW Action Days and all that stuff.
Oh,
and
he has.
Again, my whole reason for doing all this is just to document the history of the people that are around the hobby. So 1,000 years from now, all the aliens that are listening to this could be like, why were they driving Bugs? But no, I think it's cool, man. So before we wrap up, anything we didn't touch on you think we need to touch on?
No, I still want to know what made you get into have a Type 3 ghia. I'm always interested because, like you said, such a one-off car. And it's funny you mentioned me when you're like, oh, that was my car. I always look back on it back in the late 90s where it was like there was the CSP car now that Ron Loomis built. There was my car. And then when Buddy Hale built that Type, his Type 3 for that blue one, probably. So those are like my top 3.
So mine was the gray one that came out the year and a half, 2 years before the blue one. I think mine was in 2009, the magazine. That one was in 2012.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he called me. What is his name? I can't. His name escapes me right now, and I know his name. That owned the blue car, David Wu was his name. And he called me, and after my car was in the magazine, because I had the gray one with the 2.6 liter Type 4.
Yeah.
Which I just settled something with Greg Brenton, because he's like, I was at Greg's place hammering him to get on the podcast, and he's like, dude, when you left that, I think it was 2009 at the Classic, he's like, when you left, bro, like you were freaking pissed and you just burned out of there. I'm like, no, bro, that's what you do when you leave, dude. Like, you freaking lay it down. He's like, oh, we thought you were pissed because there was like one vote where your car didn't get picked for the DKP award, and we thought you got pissed.
Oh.
I said, no, bro. I was rolling out, and Dustin was there.
Okay.
And
yeah.
we're pulling out, and I'm like, bro, I'm gonna freaking get on it when I get out of here. He's
Yeah.
because everybody's all like white gloving their car up to the debut line. I'm like, nope,
Mandatory.
we're freaking leaving tracks, dude.
Yeah.
And so the reason I got into that, to Type 34 ghia, they put Randy Gates' car was at the Classic,
Yeah.
and they had it set to stun, bro. And I walked up and I was like, that's my new saying, bro. I said to that somebody's like, oh, I said, sorry, bro, I had it set to stun. Let me turn it off for you. And I freaking walk up, bro, and I see Randy Gates' car, and I'm like,
That was a barn burner. when it came
I'm
out.
like, oh my gosh, bro, I can't wrap my mind around how freaking simple and clean this car was,
yeah.
because the Ryan Reed's car and
Yep.
Broughton's car, those cars were like same level.
Yep.
But the split, that split was so over the top that I
Yeah.
was just kind of like, I was just in my head, I'm like, dude, I have to build a car this nice, and I know I can't do it. And I got to do something more rare than a split window.
Yeah.
And there was one guy in town, a guy named Jerry Casey, had a Type 34 ghia. And I was like, dude, I got to get this car. I don't know where I'm going to get one, but I got to get one. So my whole motivation for getting the Razor was like, first it was a $20,000 budget project. I'm going to do for 20 grand. And I track him down because the dude's out of the scene. The car's in the garage. He's out of the scene. I track him down. We end up talking. I'm a tile and granite contractor. So I'm like,
Okay.
hey, bro, if you need any tile or granite work, let me know. I'll do some trade work for the ghia, whatever. I end up buying the Type 34 for $4,500.
Oh,
I bring it home.
what a steal.
I strip it down, and I'm just like, this is going to be like, I saw Randy's car, and then I was like, I got to build a super rare car for that. And then I'm thinking I'm going to build something close to that. And then I'm like, I don't care, bro. My goal is to build a car as freaking bad as Randy Gates' car, dude. That's the goal for me.
Yeah.
And then I get there, and I take it to a paint shop that was really popular at the time, that they did their real quick paint jobs, in and out, bing, bang, boom, done, get you done in a month, whatever. And they got me done in a month, and I had a lot. The paint job at the time had cost me, this is 2008, was $17,000 for paint and body, and there was a rust hole about the size of a quarter in the car, a little bit of under apron work. Other than that, there was no metal. There was no metal replacement, any of that kind of stuff on the car, so it was not a terrible car. And so at this point, I'm like, dude, 17 grand for a paint job, that's freaking Riddler money, dude. That's big money, dude.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, again, I get the car back, and it's like, and I had talked to Buddy, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about taking it to you. I said, I'd like to have you do my car. And he's like, I'm like 2 years out, bro. I'm like, well, I called this other shop, dude, and they freaking said they could bang it out. And he's like, dude, I seen your bus. You won't be happy with the work that comes out of that shop. And I'm thinking like, oh, it's just painters talking against other painters. So I send my car to the shop. I get it done. I get it back. And the guy's like, you want to look at it? I said, nah, I shouldn't have to. 17.
Oh.
I made it clear, bro. I made it clear. I want the baddest car built with the baddest paint job, bar none. Like, if this is what it cost, then this is what it cost.
Okay.
That like, my bad for talking like that, right? I should have been talking up, but listen, okay, I put my big boy underwear on, we're getting a car. So I shrink wrap the car. I don't even look at it. I shrink wrap it. I get it home. I take the shrink wrap off because we're starting to like look at the car, get some stuff, and I'm like,
No.
and then I'm just like, yeah, this is not going to work. So anyway, I had words with the guy. We're back and forth on some stuff. Then I'm like, and then I just was like, I'm sending it to Buddy. I called Buddy. He's like, yeah, I can take the car. I sent it down to him, and it's like, and the guy was like, well, let me try to fix it. And the whole time there was like this kind of talk to me on the email, like, oh, hey, bro, I know how you Vegas guys are with your bling bling. I'm going to cut and buff the car from the belt line up. And I'm like,
Hey, what?
yeah, I'm like, I don't even know what that means first and foremost, but whatever. And then I was like, that car was on gas burners. What wheels more rare than gas burners? I'm like, Cosmics.
Yeah.
So I found a set of Cosmics. I had to buy a bug for $5 grand for $3,500. A ratted 67 because it had Cosmics on it. And the guy Hefe, the guy that sold me the wheels that I modeled the wheels on Zorba from. He's always in these oddball wheels, so I always track him down to see what he's got going on. If I like him, I'll just snatch him up. And so I got the wheels from my buddy Hefe, and so I'm like, all right, Type 34 ghia on these freaking wheels. I'm doing leather interior, and then I'm doing a big Type 4. So I reached out to Jake Raby, 2.6 liter Type 4, fuel injected, like Berg 5. We're freaking. I'm like, Randy set the bar. That's what so now once I had 17 grand in the paint job, I was originally a budget car. Once I had 17 grand, I said, screw it, dude. If that's my goal, whatever. I had another motor I bought. I'm online. This dude, Steve's Type 4 parts are like all this right up on him on the Samba. I had this motor I bought from him sitting in my garage. It's like, dude's a crook, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not using that motor. So then I contact Jake Raby, I'm like, I want 2.6 liter. And at the time, it was 15 grand for the motor. And my friend's like, you're so stupid, bro. You're so stupid. That's so expensive. I'm like, that's what I'm getting. And so I got that. Well, that same motor today is $30,000 if you try to buy that motor from him. 30 grand. Doubled in price in that many years. But my whole purpose was like, I saw Randy's car, and I was just like, that's it, dude. I got to build something like super, super rare, like more rare than a split window, which they're way more rare than a split window.
Oh, yeah.
And wheels more rare than gas burners, which were Cosmics at the time were. Now they've repopped them, and then the leather interior and all this stuff, and that for me was just like, that's it, dude. Because I thought, like, once I saw the Type 3, I'm like, yeah, such a freaking rad looking car. And I've always been convinced. I mean, they're a production car, but they're a coach built car. They're a factory custom car, and they're as nice as any of the Hebmullers or any of that kind of stuff.
Oh, and they ride so nice inside. It's like riding in a limo. Yeah.
So I had it, and then I got it, and I got it back. I got it done, and then I'm driving around, and it's like, it's a lot of car. I had a couple bumps and bruises when I got it back, with some issues with this, that, nothing major. But then it was always just like, that car. It's like, it's so nice that I hate driving it, getting this and that, and whatever. And so I ended up like, let me throw it online. I think I threw it online for like $80,000. And then all the dudes in the Type 3 forums are blowing me up like, this freaking guy's an idiot. Has he seen David Ho, not David Wu. Has he seen David Ho's car? I'm like, yeah, I seen his car, bro. I'm the one that told him to go to Buddy Hale. Because he had his car, he had that Type 34 at another shop for like 20 years sitting.
Oh, really?
20 years, bro. Or maybe it's 5. It was $20,000 they had charged him, and it was just stripped down.
Holy.
Yeah,
wow.
So he was like, hey, dude, my project's dying. I need to do something with it. So I said, go see Buddy. I said, he ain't cheap, bro.
Yeah.
And Buddy was like, I'm never doing another Type 34. I hate these cars.
Yeah.
But, that for me was it. It was seeing Gary. It was seeing Randy Gates' car, dude. I saw that car, and I was like, bro, this freaking car is perfect, dude. Like the color, the stance, like everything on it. And I was like, I need to out-rare this car. That was the benchmark, and I was like, how can I be more rare than that? And once I started driving the Type 34, I'm like, bro, this car is plush deluxe, dude. I'm like, I'm in here. I'm like, I got 3 gauges to look at, dude. Like, this is roomy. It's got shoulder room in it. Like, so I'm sold. I still have another one in my backyard.
Oh, really?
That I'm trying to find a home for. I bought it on the Samba, and then I bought Zorba from my buddies at Ross Wolf. It was sitting in his garage, and it was like painted, but it had these weird dents, like almost like a pressure dent in the front. And I was like, it was painted, and I'm like, dude, you know what? I'll buy that car and just freaking thrash it together, dude, and just have a driver. I got all the parts to finish it. And then it goes overboard, dude. I bought it. Andy's in my shop. It's sitting on the rack in my garage, and I got no time. I got more cars than space in my garage.
What year's that one?
So Zorba is a 63, 64. I think it depends on, because what's interesting is when I shipped it to Europe to get the paint done on Zorba, and they said it was a 63, and then the title paperwork, it's 64 stateside. So, but it's a 64. They're both push button dash cars, both 64s.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So the battle I had. And maybe this is the reason, like Zorba means a lot to me, much more than the gray car did. And the reason why Zorba means so much more to me is because when it was in my garage and it's on the rack, it's blue and white, and above on my wall I have a Greek flag. So my dad and mom are both off the boat Greeks, right? So I've been taught to be proud of being Greek. And so the cars see blue and white, same color as the Greek flag, because the blue and the Greek flag is for the ocean. That's why it's there, and the white's for the whitewashed. All the whitewashed seaside buildings, all that stuff. And I'm like, Zorba the Ghia, dude. That's this car. Zorba the Ghia. Like after the Zorba the Greek, the movie Anthony Quinn's in the 60s. And so I'm just like, let's do it. Let's freaking... I'm building this car, so I'm looking for this Greek fabric. I'm trying to find a Greek key for the seat insert, whatever. And then I just find this ribbon, this blue and gold ribbon. I'm like, that's freaking dope. We're doing that. And then I'm like, we got to find a sea blue material. Then it just spirals in this whole thing. And Andy's fighting me like, no, bro, this freaking ribbon's lame. And I'm like, no, dude, we're doing it. And the way the car came together, it came together. I mean, it couldn't have come together so much better I don't want to say better. It's just different. My experience with this car was different. Front to back, beginning to end, start of the story, end of the story. And it was like, Buddy knocked it out of the park with the gray car. It was freaking phenomenal. It was too nice and almost undrivable.
Yeah.
When we set out to build Zorba, it was like, I'm going to drive this car. My plan is to drive it, but it's got to be freaking rad. And so the mural on the roof, the Greek keys on the roof,
That thing's crazy.
The mural on the air tank in the front. The air tank, so... Because if you look at my first ghia and my second ghia, difference in ride height is 3 inches. My Zorba sits freaking on the ground.
Yeah.
And the other one was cowlick stance. And so I think the reason why the cars have different meaning to me is because when I set out to build Zorba, it was like, this car means something to me. Around the shifter handle, it says, I am my father's legacy. It's Greek. Everything has a Greek flair to it without looking stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of matches maybe like in a classic Italian design. It just all came together right. When I set out to build Zorba, it was like, I'm beating that guy. I'm going to beat that guy. I'm going to out-rare. I'm going to out-cowlook. So it was like the card started in this frame of like, it's got to fit this mold.
Okay.
So my whole thing with Zorba was like, nope, I don't care. We're doing this. I'm doing a full system in it, and we're doing a stock motor. None of my cars have a stock motor.
Yeah.
I'm doing a stock motor. Andy and I are cruising to a show in the Netherlands in his pink ghia that he bought. The one that was built in Bakersfield in the 80s, 1641. We're just cruising, dude, just talking, have this whole conversation, just talking about being young and having Volkswagens, whatever. And I said, dude, I miss those days when I just had a freaking stock motor. I never stressed about anything. So like, he comes to my garage, looks at the car. He's like, dude, ship me this car. I'll build it in a month and we'll just get it done. And that took a turn. But ultimately it was like, when I built Zorba, I built it to kind of express, like to attribute to like my dad, my heritage, and to kind of, to be able to build a car that does not fit within a cow look box or a style of this particular style, but still have it be like everybody appreciates it. I haven't had anybody really dislike the car. And not that I built it for anybody else, but if you can kind of build something and push a little bit outside of the norm with some things, it's kind of cool. And so, yeah, it's funny. It's 2 cars and two unbelievably awesome cars. 2 completely. I mean, Zorba's a freaking 1600. I mean, the tires in the front they don't even make in the States. They're so small.
Oh, really?
Dude, I mean, like, because in Europe they got special sizes of everything, and it's just like, and I'm driving, and the gray car was just like, 200 horsepower, freaking fuel injected, Berg 5, like leather. Every time you got in the car, you just smell leather. It's like, I was like, I love it, dude. Push button start. Like everything was just, I wanted all these things. And then when I built Zorba, I was like, I had all the parts, pieces, everything there. I said, nope, it's going to be kind of a theme build. And then the custom wheels are what? Like, because I had those
are wild.
I had that rare set of wheels I got from my buddy Hefe, which they're, what's it called? Ronal Kleeblatts. It's German for clover, and it was 4-lug. And I'm like, I'm not switching the car back to 5-lug. I'm gonna keep it 4-lug. If you're like, why'd you keep it 4-lug? I'm like, because people want to know why I kept it 4-lug, because everybody goes 5-lug. And I'm like, we're just doing 4-lug. That's it. Because I'm gonna make 4-lug cool. And so it's like, because I kind of think it's cool to do something different than everybody does it, right?
Yeah.
Because
100%.
there's two rules broken right there, right? Everyone thinks you have to go to 64. Why'd you put narrow 4-lug on it? Like, it was already done, so I was like, whatever. I'll leave it like that. I was going to go Porsche pattern, and then I'm like, I don't have to go Porsche. I'll just do 4-lug. I found that rare set of Kleeblatts, and I was like, told Andy, I said, hey, dude, we'll take these wheels. They're cutting the face off the wheels now and riveting them into a hoop, making 3-piece and making them different sizes. Let's do that. He goes, well, let me just call this company because they just make the wheel. Don't even cut those wheels. They'll just make them.
Oh, really?
So I call a company called Rims Carnated. Whatever wheel you want, bro.
No
Whatever wheel you want, they will make it
I
like
was
that.
wondering about how you did that.
Dude, it's like $4,000. I'm like, $4,000? I'm watching guys pay $3,500 for South African Sprint Stars, dude, for steel wheels from a junkyard from South Africa. And I'm like, you can get a full custom set of, if you can draw it, they will build it.
Really?
And they'll build it to DOT spec, dude. Like, and these guys do not play games.
Wow.
So I sent them a picture. I sent them a picture of the wheels of the Kleeblats, and they sent back a rendering. And they said, "What do you think about this?" And I was like, "Whoa, it's the same, but it's different."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dude, that looks rad." I'm like, "Let's freaking do it." So, a couple $100 for a conceptual drawing. Gave them a couple $100. Fired off. Boom. 6 weeks later, full set of wheels. The offset I wanted, the size I want. They'll make it any way. And like, I'm not meaning to give away the secrets on the podcast, guys, but if you want center locking wheels, they will make you center locking wheels.
Really?
100. You want a custom Hildebrand for your Volkswagen, like to look. You're going full hot rod look. Just call Rims Carnated, bro. Send them a picture. Say I want the wheel. This offset. This. For now, what you're paying? I mean, what for a set of what BRMs go for?
I'm building a 36 Roadster right now, and after that I'm going to build another ghia.
Yeah.
So I've been starting to stock.
Another Type 34?
Yeah.
Did you got the car ready?
No, not yet.
Let me know.
Yeah. But I know I want to run Fuchs.
Yeah.
And so I look up, 4.5s, 5.5s, $8,000 for a set. Yeah.
It's crazy town.
And I'm thinking back 20 years ago. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's a $2,000 set of rims.
Well, but now when I tell you, like, dude, no. You don't even got to be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
You can completely do something completely different. Doesn't even matter. Like if there's a wheel because some of the coolest stuff that you can see is when you take wheels from other cars and put them on a car and you're like, oh, bro, what's that custom wheel? Like in the 80s, like you look at Rodbuster, had Ford SVO wheels on it. That had a hole cut in it. You're like,
totally
what
weird.
are those custom wheels? Like Ford SVO with a hole machined in it. Like, so there's a lot of like now. So that's another thing that Zorba brings to the table, right? Zorba's the first car, not the first car, one of the first cars that has a full set of wheels on it that anyone can have from Rims Carnated that will make you any wheel you want.
Well, and it throws off that, like you're saying, it throws out that recipe because when I saw it, I'm already a Type 34 guy, so I'm like, all right, what are those?
You look at the wheels like, bro, these freaking wheels.
They don't look Volkswagen, they don't look Porsche, they don't look this, well, they kind of look this. And so that's that part where even with your paint job, where you have everything, it's like, where I say you stamped your name on that wheel. But it's been a question. I've been wondering about that because I look at them and I even tell my wife.
You look at the center caps, it's got the Medusa logo. You're like, what is this?
I'm looking at it going, I must be really out of touch because I do not know what those things are.
But that's the coolest thing I talked about recently on the podcast. Like the coolest thing that happens now with technology is between 3D printing, custom machining, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You can create anything.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, I don't mean this to sound pretentious or anything like that, but like one of the things about when me being involved in Zorba and the level of involvement I had in building, which is all the design work, everything other than the physical work, which some people want to discredit, and it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I don't need the street cred. I can build a car. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to spend my time doing things I enjoy, which is driving the car. But I also want to have my personal thing on there.
That work-life balance.
And again, it's a culmination of like Andy knows the people that do the wheels, and I'm like, what? These guys will do wheels just like that?
Yeah.
And then now you're on their Instagram, and they make any type of wheel you want. So now it opens up a whole world for you because now you can play off the design of like, if you're going to do cow look style, you can do cow look style and yet be different. Like you could have it have that vibe, but have people doing the same thing you did when you look back, like these wheels kind of fit the look, but I don't get it.
But what are,
I don't get it. You know what I mean? And the rad part is like the rear ones have that freaking, or the front ones have the whole center's kicked out, looks like a turbine fan.
Yeah.
Which is why they suck to clean, bro. Hurt your fingers when it's cold. But it's cool. But I love doing stuff like that just because, showcasing modern technology that we have today, that we have a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in the industry. And what I mean by that are Volkswagen enthusiasts that have full machine shops, do 3D printing, do all this stuff, and can prototype and custom make pieces. We're at a time in technology where you can build the most unique of the most unique. And
Oh, yeah.
Part of my thing with Zorba is people have gotten away from personalizing cars because they're trying to stay in that box. And that's the difference between Zorba and the gray car for me. Zorba, I can tell a story about the paint job, the design, what it means to me, why it means this to me. When someone says, why is it like that? Well, because that's cow look. No, it's like that because it means this to me, and I wanted to infuse some of that into this build. And that was kind of that was a little bit of what the 80s were all about, right? Like just personalizing your car. Like if you were into Billabong and you wanted a Billabong logo, you know, if you wanted Oakley, whatever. But there's so much of that. I mean, when I look at where we're at with life today and where social media has opened up life like that to us.
Yeah.
I had Steve Nazar, who just passed away, design the logo for one of the One Crazy Weekends, which was a 23-window bus with the Rat Pack hanging out of it and a showgirl and all this stuff and money flying out of the back and all this stuff. And it's like, that's the dude that drew all the Thriller Gorilla stuff, all the OP designs. Like he just passed away and he was just doing studio stuff out of his house. And I'm thinking, that is so freaking cool that you can just access an artist like that. Because if you could go back in the 70s and have Hanna-Barbera draw you a cartoon logo for the side of your Bug or whatever at the time, it's like you would think that's the unthinkable. But now that we've turned into like, maybe I'll send that guy a message, see if he responds. And they're like, I do renderings and drawings and all this stuff. And there's a guy called Bitchin' Ink, I think is the name of his company. He does some freaking rad drawings. I reached out to him to do One Crazy Weekend. He's about a year out. But this guy, I'm going to show you after the podcast some of the drawings this guy does. Go check him out on Instagram, Bitchin' Ink Designs. And he just does these super, super cool renderings. And he's got a scene of like American Graffiti scene.
Okay.
But it's got all the cars are like in action and things are happening around it. And then he has another one where it's similar to that, but it's a Sonic and it's all movie cars in it that I bought from my house. So it's like, it's got the Gone in 60 Seconds car. It's got the Dukes of Hazzard car. Like all the cars throughout my youth of growing up and seeing all these movie cars.
Yeah.
They're all in this one scene. And I thought, I'd love to do a shirt like that for One Crazy Weekend, but have it all be cars from the history of Volkswagens in an action scene.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's super cool. So, but yeah, that's where we're at with this hobby right now. It's like you can have anything made, do anything custom. Yep. We have 3D rendering. You've got all kinds of stuff. So it's really, how far do you want to get into it? And you can also still stay super traditional, track down original stuff. So there's creativity on both sides. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about the hobby. You know, like just the way that you can express yourself with your blank canvas of Volkswagen in any direction. Yeah. You know, and it's not limited to Type 1, Type 2, or even Type 34. So it'd be cool to see you have another Type 34 out. Let me know. I might know a guy who can help you get one, because I got one sitting in my backyard in Vegas just waiting.
That's going to be the next Volkswagen.
No, that's rad, man. I'm excited to see what you do next, and I'm excited to see now. And that's the thing. Sometimes when you get plugged into stuff and now your gears start turning. Yeah. Because I'm just saying. Because listen, you're talking to another guy who looks at other cars and can appreciate things. Now, are you arguing with me when I say you could make a set of Hildebrand style wheels for a Type 34 that would not look unbelievably sick on that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you start fusing some of those styles together. Yeah. And that's the part that makes the hobby fun when you see, because Buddy Hell's doing it with like Turmoil and stuff like that.
He's getting crazy.
He's still staying within the Volkswagen aspect to some degree. Like with Turmoil, it's got the stock seats and all that stuff in it, but you know, it just shows how you can kind of start bending reality in the same world. So yeah, I'm stoked, man. I think we're at the best part of the hobby, right? Like there's so much there. And you know, ironically, we're here at the history of, you know, the 60th DKP event with all these cars here that are traditionally done within a certain realm of how they're done. But
yeah, definitely a recipe here.
Yeah, I think it's cool, and I think the recipe, if guys like us continue to keep just slightly pushing it a little bit, we can, you know, there's an opportunity to get some stuff that's still appreciated by a lot, and it's still doing stuff differently. You know, showing people that you can still. It's not the only four wheels you can pick from. You can do different stuff. You can throw a lowrider style mural on a Type 34 ghia and make somebody go, "What happened here?"
Yeah, well, you're talking about. I mean, I remember when I built my ghia. Type 34 registry, and some people were not.
Oh, yeah.
I could give you some names of people that were not happy with me when I did that.
But it's your car.
Yeah.
It's your car.
But I think that's that kind of stuff back then. Maybe we shunned upon, but now social media, like you said, you found some rims being made. At my 9-to-5 gig, part of my job is to both attract and retain my staff.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the same thing, is you can still attract people with traditional stuff, but retain people with this. Show them a new light.
Well, yeah. Even when you're in the hobby and you're like, a set of 4.5s and 6s are $8,000. No thanks. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna spend that kind of money, why don't I just make my own custom wheels? And then they're one of ones.
Yeah. No, that's 100%.
You don't got some.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they are rad looking. Like, it's not like he did the teddy bear wheels. Like, no.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's and so I can't take all the credit because the design is the Ronald. It's a play off the Ronald, but it's the Ronald design in 2025.
No, yeah, it looks bitchin'.
And that's the part where it's like, it's hard to do that. It's hard. The only automaker that's done it with any real success has been Dodge, with their making their traditional cars, newer cars, and kind of keeping a little bit of that vibe there.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to take something that was cool in 1975 and make it cool in 2025. So
yeah.
Well, that's rad, man. Well, dude, bro, it's been great chatting with you, man. I love it. I love it. And and this is the reason that I do this, man, so we can have these rad conversations and people love listening to them, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Well, cool. I'm excited to see your ghia, bro. I love when people bring stuff out to the hobby. I love it. I love it because I know you're committed to do something super cool. And then whatever you're gonna do, I'd love to see some of your hot rod influence bleed through on that ghia a little bit, man.
Yeah, it might.
I'd love to see it, man, because there's a lot you could do if you just let go and you commit to a theme and you follow all the way through. And it's something that whether they like it or not, people have to appreciate the level of commitment that it took to do something super cool.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Yeah.
Glad chatting with you, bro.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad to finally make it.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll have you back on when you get the Type 34 done.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm digging it, man.
All right, bro.
All right.
See ya.
Well, if you like that podcast, and I'm sure you did, make sure you subscribe to Let's Talk Dubs and also go share it with all of your friends. If you're waiting to go to the best VW event of your life, it's coming up October 2nd, one crazy weekend. Go to letstalkdubs.com to find out more information. We're going to be putting out a best of show grand prize dollar amount coming up soon. Going to be talking about that with a group of people doing a roundtable coming up here. So lots coming up, lots going on. And I will see you guys this weekend at the German Air Car Show and Social, taking place at Niagara Fireman's Park. So hopefully I'll see a bunch of you guys this weekend, man. And until next week, later.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen.